everyone, welcome to another episode of Son of Elijah. My name is Mac the Lion and I'm your host for this program. We continue to delve into the mystery of Babylon and the city that sits in the very belly of the waters. You have to understand that Satan is micromanaging the armies of the earth, literally using agents who represent his interest in order to destroy other humans. This is a term whereby he harvests the best of us, the most talented, the most gifted, of whom today we call the elites, and utilizes them to corrupt the rest of us, at least attempts to do so. And that is how Satan is able to keep up with the ever-growing number of humans on the earth. Now, evil is in abundance because it's content that he brews in the very belly of the waters. Now, when he does that, then he puts or houses it in the hands of the rulers of darkness who produce the lies and the refuge of falsehoods for that lie to be able to be implanted in the spirit of man. Then they deliver it to demonic spirits who now deliver that agenda by tempting us to disobey God and do things contrary to God's command. And as a result of that, it gains inroads into one's personal life. This is the artistry of destruction on the earth. So the word of the living God is to guide and instruct us in order for us to overcome and deal with these things. I shared how I had a revelation and I descended literally into the belly of the waters by the help of an angelic being that dropped me off there, but I did not even know how we were able to get there. All I know was that I was in this place, but I couldn't really tell how I got there. The entities that I found there were innumerable. I saw humans, people, everyday people, young and old, but especially a lot of young people. This younger generation of people were so much there because I saw them. They were dressed, people were wearing jeans, denim, all kinds of clothing. They were dressed like everyday regular people and they were just going back and forth everywhere. I could remember quite a good number of them climbing the stairway, some coming down. I saw all the activities. I saw a big building that looks like a church. It was a kind of a church building and people were there and they were worshiping, but all these people were all in the belly of the waters. So the question you ask is this: is there such a place? Yes, it is. The Bible calls it Mystery Babylon, which is Babylon, the mysterious one, the hidden one. And if you understand the dynamics of what I've been trying to explain, that's why you need to go back to about 2 or 3 series and you will see everything I taught in line with this kingdom and how I was able to get there, so you can understand the dynamics leading up to where I'm taking you now. Now you have to understand that everyone I saw there, they were alive at that point in time. Because this is how it operates. You see, it is the spiritual being or the spirit man that they actually use in order for them to come there. But for them to come there, you don't really need to travel there. You just need to be a part of that satanic enterprise. And most people who are working for the devil don't know. They don't wake up and say, no, we are Satanists, we are working for the devil. Not at all. To be a Babylonian, you just need to fall into the temptation of using your spiritual gift to glorify the devil and do things that are destructive to mankind. The end game is what Satan is after. Remember, I explained how Mystery Babylon is Satan's wisdom, is satanic wisdom. It is actually the intelligence of the dragon. How Satan uses the corruption of corrupting human spirits and now hiring and controlling those human spirits, and they become pawns in his hand, and he becomes the master puppeteer who is able to express his will and whims and desires for humanity through those gifted individuals. That's why I give examples of people who function in the medical world and many other industries, including IT, and it's just a sample size example I gave, but every single industry has people who are representing Satan's destructive agenda. Because when God gave you a spiritual gift, he gave you to serve humanity with it. He gave you so that you can serve your brothers and sisters and every human on this earth with that gift. And by so doing, you are productive. Remember what he said: be fruitful, multiply, or be productive. And don't stop being productive until you literally saturate the earth with your value, with your product. So even when we read it to mean having children and multiplying the earth, that is just a subset or an aspect of that productivity. Because you can't have 100 children, can you? Or you will not. So the few that you are able to have, you now need to raise them so that they become amiable, excellent, excellent individuals contributing value to their world. And when you are productive, then you raise your children to also be productive, and then ultimately giving glory to the God who gave you those gifts and talents, and then living in line with his purpose. Now that's what fulfills essentially your purpose. Jesus was sent to restore man back to his original pedestal as the second Adam, and that originality of us being in God's center will is for us to accomplish that which we've been sent to do. And by so doing, we are walking in line with the wisdom of God, because wisdom is purpose. Wisdom is purpose. I've said that over and over again. Wisdom is purpose. And that's why God gave man a wife by wisdom, in order for him to accomplish and fulfill his purpose. Now, without not going into that, because I've already laid some foundation in line with that, you now need to understand that wisdom, Satan also has his own wisdom, because he has corrupted himself. And because he is good gone bad, he has also corrupted his knowledge and his intelligence. So that corruption is now what he now established as an institution, as a base in the belly of the waters. And the reason he established it in the belly of the waters is because he can't take human spirits through the tunnels, because if he takes them through the tunnels, they will have to die. Unless God supernaturally takes you to hell, where he transports you there by a means, or you died and actually went there, and then you had what they call a near-death experience, but it's actually proper death. The only difference is that God brought you back, so it's not near death. You actually die, because when you go through that tunnel, you have to be dead to go through those tunnels. Once you go through that tunnel, because there are gateways that lead into the core of the earth. Those gateways are the access point that takes people to hell. When living spirits die and now they are now dead or disconnected from God because they lived a wicked life, they descend through those tunnels into the very abyss of the core of the earth. That is where hell is. Now, Satan can't take anyone who works for him, human spirits who work for him, or who does what he wants through that channel, because if he takes them through for any reason, that means he has literally killed them. If he has been able to one way or the other kill them, and that death is now what produces separation of their body and their spirit, and then they will naturally descend through those tunnels, and then they will end up in hell. Now that will not accomplish his purpose, because remember, he wants to use them and continually reuse them. He intends to damage and hire them, then he can use them. That's why some of the most wicked people on the earth are still alive to a certain level, and some of them even grow old. The reason is because they are agents of wickedness, and Satan needs to keep using them to destroy others until eventually they time out on the earth. So that is what he does. Now, Satan, of course, hates everyone and he tries to kill everyone, but yet he has a group of people who does his agenda, and he tries to keep them going for as long as he can tolerate them, so that they can continually become pawns and instruments he can use to destroy others. That's why the part of the earth where the core of the earth hell is, Satan does not take human spirits who do his purpose and his whims, who are fulfilling his destructive agenda, which is his wickedness. He doesn't take them there. Now, God can take you to hell without you dying, because supernaturally God is the owner of all realms, and God can take you there and bring you back successfully, and he has done that for quite a number of people. But at the same time, there are people who have died and entered through those tunnels, and everyone who has died, most of the times always say they descend below, the ones who don't have a connection with God, and they always find themselves passing through this tunnel. So that has been a consistent experience that I've heard from a lot of people. Now, Satan does not take people who work for him through there, because if they go there and see the demise of all the people who worked for him, who is now tormenting there, and now laughing at them for deceiving them and using them for his agenda. So what he does is to take them to another section that looks like a normal place where everyday life is. It's a city, it is built up spiritually, it is citadeled in the belly of the waters, and that's where all the artistry of destruction is being manipulated. That's where Satan plans out everything he does using humanities and instruct them. But when those people see him there, they don't see him as Satan. They don't even know that they are working for him. They don't even know who is running the place. Many a times, the way they experience it is like they are just dreaming. So their spirits descend into that place. You see, when someone is existing in the physical realm, they still have an inner man, the spirit man, then they have a soul. Their spirit many a times have experiences experiences. Those experiences are like dreams. And it's in those dreams that they tend to receive things that they don't understand. That's why there are people at times they want to do something a certain way. They go to bed. By the time they wake up, they discover that all of a sudden they have a bright idea on how to solve the problem. Now on the good side, God actually does that because it's in the scripture that when men sleep, that God conceals instructions and way out and resolves problems by telling them what they ought to do. And when they wake up, there is a bright idea of how they should go about it. And I've also had an experience where I'm dealing with something and by the time I go to bed, I don't even know how I'm going to solve it. But by the time I wake up, there's this excellent concept or idea that comes to me that do it like this, and immediately that works. So God uses that to conceal information. But at the same principle, Satan, the inverted destructive agent he is, also uses that medium. And so he conceals the satanic ideas into the minds of people, and by the time they wake up, they already know what they ought to do. Do you know in this world there is so much manipulation from the elites, which a good number of them have been hijacked, their spirits have been hijacked by the forces of wickedness. Because when they were growing up, they found out that some of them were gifted. Then Satan kept tempting them, also using the leaders of those industries to force them or to lure them or to pull them in, like in the music industry. A lot of the musicians who are corrupt didn't start that way. Some of them were good folks. Some of them were singing in church, even growing up. Some of them loved the Lord. Some of them were fair to humanity. But today now there's so much profanity, so much filth, so much obscenity, so much death in some of their songs. And all that is because the people who they signed up to their music labels are the ones who corrupted them. So Satan uses the leaders of those industries to lure the ones in. And the ones who refuse to be corrupted are the ones that they shun and push away. It's like profanity. Have you noticed that the best comedians in the world, or the most prolific or prominent comedians in the world, they all curse. They use a lot of bad language. And the reason is because Satan can't allow you be the top dog in that industry except you kiss the ring by acquiescing and compromising to the spirit that is ruling that industry. And only when you do that, that's when you align. That's why an institution like Comedy Central were putting pressure on a lot of comedians who came through and say, see, if you want us to give you prime time and give you a special, you need to curse, you need to use profane language, because if you do not, then we can't give you that special. It's part of the package. And they will tell you because it's fun. It's not because it's funny, it's because they are the top dogs in that industry when it comes to do with projecting and pushing comedic content in the world. And the spirit that sits over that leadership is controlling them, and it's the spirit of obscenity and profanity. And so that spirit will insist that if anyone has to be signed, they have to sign up to this filth. And if they do not, then they will not become anything of relevance. That's why I've watched also some comedians, for example, on Dry Bar. They were so hilarious. Some of their comedic performances were excellent, better than some of the biggest names in the world, but they will never get a big gig. Why? Because they don't use profane language. Why? Because they are not giving to such type of obscenities and profane and bad language and cursing. So that's just a sample size of how it works. Now Satan is the one who controls all the industries of the earth. That's why the Bible says, talking about Mystery Babylon, it says she sits over the waters. What are the waters? Waters, the Bible now explains as waters are people. So the inhabitants of the earth is what she's sitting over. And the way she does it is to sit over what? The 7 mountains, as is recorded also in that scripture. And now that 7 mountains represent the 7 dimensions of the major industries. And so those 7 major industries is what she's influencing the people that are there, and is using those who are the top of that industry to influence everyone beneath, because water from the hill will always flow downward. So if it poisons the top, everyone under will get it. That's exactly how it works. That's how Satan is able to corrupt most of humanity. And he depends so much on those who he has elevated and given positioning. That's why there's a lot of people, for example, in Hollywood who are into production of Hollywood movies, and some of the top whatever, they are involved in some type of sexual fetishes, misgivings, alternative sexual behaviors, and all kinds of peds and criminality of all kinds of nature, all in that sexual immorality. Why? Because that industry is what is responsible for pushing smut, uncleanliness, obscenity, nudity, pornography, and all kinds of content. They are the ones responsible for that. So the enemy will make sure that those individuals are partaking of that same thing that he's pushing to the world, so that at the end of the day they give out what they are carrying, because you cannot push what you don't do. It's not possible. You can't give what you don't have. That's how Satan controls the elite, from governance to anywhere. If anyone who is prominent that is is good, wants to rise in a place of governance, you will see that the establishment will immediately start blackmailing them, will start bringing false report, will start, pushing out propaganda using media against them, because anything that will elevate and release and free the lives of people, that agenda must not be allowed to happen. So, and that's why the contradictory opposition will bring out all kinds of lies, trump up all kinds of cases, do everything they can to make sure that individual is taken out of the race, because they cannot just let anyone who has a great and good intention for the people's lives to be given that position. That's how it works. So that it will only be those ones who are corrupt, and the corrupted ones are easy to control, because that's how Satan controls them. Now, this has always confused a lot of people, because they have asked questions and say, it's obvious there is a satanic cabal, a certain set of globalists that are running the earth, but there must be a place where they all meet together to discuss how they want to poison humanity, how they want to control humanity, how they want to destroy humanity. Where do they meet? So that's always the question, and that's what gives birth to the term conspiracy theory, because to conspire means you guys are meeting somehow, whether virtually or physically. There is a room where you all get together and you come together to agree on what you want to do in order for you to destroy humanity. So there is always a calculated end in order for you to bring about dissension and destruction that you can bring upon mankind. That has always been the calculation. Now the question is, how do they meet? And because many a times people who understand there is something happening but we don't really know how, but this is the end result of that which is happening, they are the ones that come out and say they are meeting somewhere or somehow. But the truth is that 99% of them don't meet physically. They don't need to agree in a certain room. This is what we're going to do with the COVID. This is what we're going to do with that. No, all these things are done in the belly of the waters. You see, when they sleep, their spirit man goes there by default, because the burden of destruction has already been placed on them. It's like an installation, a device that allows you to call home when necessary. It's like a device that allows you to pick up information for all those who are already hinged. Because you see, the way evil works is that it's a network, and that network of destructive intelligence is already functioning on the earth. So anyone who has it will almost naturally pick up on it and descend down, and those are the people I saw their spirit in the belly of the waters. That's why I told you that everyone I saw there, they are alive on the earth today, but they are there functioning under the capacity and the directive of the corruptive power of the wicked one. And as a result of that, they're exercising that destructive essential mechanism that they are releasing to the earth without even knowing. So there is a conspiracy, but there is no physical place they are meeting. It's actually all done and marshaled out from the belly of the waters. That's why anytime they want to run on a lie to deceive humanity, especially in a place like America, you will see that by morning, all the news media pick up on that same news. It's almost like a talking point. And you'll be asking, where did they meet? Is there a night consortium where they all came together and all agreed this is the lie we're going to peddle? No. What happens is that all their spirits show up for that meeting, whether you believe it or not. And then they pick up on it. Then the first person to break the news by morning is the one who almost dictates the analogy of the conversation, and every other person piggybacks off it. And before you know it, all that lie is spreading at an alarming rate. That's how the kingdom of darkness operates, because the darkness that is within them is already registered them into that concept or mindset. So they are all functioning under that dictate, because they all have that implantation within them. It's called corruption. It's called evil. That's why when people are corrupt, people have said this times without number, that even I worked for this institution, the media house, not once ever did we have a meeting and then the editor-in-chief came and said, this is the Ovaltine window, this is what we can talk about, this is how I want you to do, this is how you must lie about this person, this is the agenda you must push. No, he said we don't have such meetings, and I worked in those places. But it's almost like as if everyone knows this is what we need to do. Everyone knows his own responsibility in order to push this agenda. So everyone works in tangent with it. And anyone who tries to contravene that immediately is shunned, because that means he doesn't have that implantation, or he doesn't have that seed of corruption in them for which Satan can be able to control him into the same mindset that all of them aligns with. That's why they all think a certain way. That's why they all function a certain way. And that's why when we look at them, especially from a certain level, people say, oh, these are the elites, these are the powers that be, these are the ones that are manipulating the whole world. Satan is the mastermind. He is the source of that conspiracy. But there is no physical room where they meet. It's actually done spiritually. It's actually done etherically. It's actually done in a virtual spiritual format, whereby their spirits are attend the gathering, but not a conscious gathering. You say, but the people, do they know they're attending the meeting? No, they do not. They just dream, and they just remember that they had some type of dream, but it doesn't matter because the dream will be faint to them. What matters is that they've picked up on the information of what they ought to do, and that information will be like a beaming beacon that's telling them this is how we need to go, this is what we need to do, this is the alignment. And by morning, they see themselves aligning with that. And that's exactly how Satan micromanages them. This is very real because you see, this may be controversial for some people, but not to me, because this is a life that I have come to experience on a daily basis. I've fought principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, spiritual wickedness, operational in high places. I've seen all their workings, how they operate, how they network, and the things they do. Then I still had to be exposed to the wisdom of the destructive intelligence of the dragon, which is Mystery Babylon, citadel at the belly of the waters, a city where fallen dead spirits, a city where corrupted human living spirits go and receive data or receive information and instructions for that which they now execute in the physical world, and then they are so passionate about it, and they are so driven by the agenda, and you wonder why they are so passionate. It's because they've all been corrupted, and they are corrupted by their department or the dimension. So that's why it says that Mystery Babylon sits upon the waters, which are the people, and then the leadership of that waters is the elite that they use in order for that corruption that he places at the top, and then the rest of humanity is impacted and affected by it. That's how it operates, that's how it functions, and that's how Satan micromanages wickedness. So when they sleep, they just think that they are dreaming. Many times they don't even remember. And pay attention to things that you see, especially after 3 a.m. in the morning, because those are not dreams, those are realities. And the reason why most of them show up for those gatherings from 3 a.m. is because it has to be very fresh. So by the time they wake up from 5 to 6 o'clock, they remember clearly what they ought to do with what they need to be done. They may not remember the meeting that leads to that, but what they do know is that whatever has been embedded in their spirit, they already pick up on it. And it's almost natural. So they receive it. Some they receive it almost telepathically, whereby it's not like as if they are so present in that meeting, but they already pick up exactly because the corruption is already within them. The dark matter is already within them. Evil is already within them. That's why you should be careful of compromises, because it will hook you in. And once you are hooked in, it's difficult for you to break free. That's why you need to stay away from compromise. I tell someone, you don't even need to be deep or spiritual. You just need to follow the simple instructions of the word of the living God and stay away from sin, evil, and iniquity. And then you will not find yourself as an instrument in the hands of the wicked one. Satan wants to hire all humanity if all humanity will give him an opportunity to be hired. But now, not everyone will become an agent of darkness. Not everyone will become an instrument in the line of Satan's destruction. But Satan really needs those at the top. And if there's anyone at the top who is constantly trying to be a hindrance to his manipulation, then Satan will find ways to either kick them out or for them to be fired, or even schedule an untimely death for them so that they get out of the way, because the agenda needs to be had. That's why if you notice during the COVID, every president who stood up against it somehow died. Someone produced a report and said, see how many presidents and leaders died during the COVID who stood against the vaccines. Now, do you think that was done physically? Do you think there was, and there were all kinds of conspiracy theory out there, oh, it must be the CIA, it must be all kinds of people who have gone to take these individuals out. Not really. All those things were done in the spiritual realm. It is the kingdom of darkness that does that. They do that in the belly of the waters. That they are the ones that X out some people and say, this ones need to go, this one needs to go, because they are not allowing us to be able to drive the agenda. And that's why the deaths on the earth ballooned, not just as a result of the COVID, but as a result of, the shots that were given to people. And those shots have produced a lot of people passing away untimely. And that's why there's a global tick, especially in the Western world, where a lot of that were enforced en masse. A lot of that tick exploded in every community. If you go to those who work as undertaker, they all release report that business doubled and tripled after that rollout of the vaccines. And the reason for that automatically was because the enemy was the one who was micromanaging the agenda. So anyone who was behind or trying to stop it or trying to hinder it, because the enemy is reaping sudden death. Don't forget that the devil is the spirit of death and hell. So he looks forward to people dying suddenly en masse. So anything that will accelerate it, he's all behind it. That's how he works. That's how he manipulates existence. So there were people in the elites, both in government, those in medical field, a lot of them inverted. A lot of them changed their normal practices. And a lot of them came up with falsehood. They made falsehood a refuge for a lot of humanity, just so that the agenda of accelerated destruction, which ultimately Satan is the one behind, can move at a pace wherein that destruction can be paced up, and a lot of people will be terminated almost immediately without even knowing. And the reason is because Satan has an agenda. He's the spirit of hell and death, and he wants that. He wants humanity to die at an alarming rate, and he wants to use those who are doing his bidding as instruments who will push that agenda. So that is it. When you understand that, you understand the dynamics of that. Now I have come to understand that whatever is done on the earth, these individuals would always continue to represent Satan's kingdom, because whether knowingly or unknowingly, they represent the artistry of his destruction. So they themselves are the ones executing it, and they are Babylonians, because they go to that city without even knowing they are there. Now there have been other people who have also explained the time they were part of that agenda, they found a way to transport themselves physically there also. Now that is another thing for another time, but let me focus on those who are part of it without knowing, who only get there by a spiritual encounter wherein they dream and wake and receive wirelessly the instructions of what they need to do. And that's the real conspiracy that is powering all the destruction that you are seeing on the earth, and manipulating the existence of men and causing them to become Babylonians, so that they become bona fide representation of the army of wickedness, so that they become a bona fide extension of the forces of wickedness, executing Satan's whims and doing that which they have been projected to do, depending on the intelligence and the wisdom of Satan. And at the end of the day, they ruin other humans using those powers that have been given them. Now I want to leave you there for today. I hope you have further understood that which I've been trying to explain regarding this. Please listen to 3 or 4 more episodes and listen to the next one and the next one after. Even as you look below, you see those videos there, because you have to understand the full picture of what exactly is occurring in our world today regarding the kingdom of Mystery Babylon. My name is Mark the Lion, and I've been your host for Son of Elijah. I look forward to our next episode. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Please do let others know what we are doing here, so that this channel can explode. We need more eyes to see that which we are pushing forth. Please, if you also want to be a part of Son of Elijah, you are very much free to take advantage of the link at the description, and then click on it and give both locally for those who can, and those who are international could also use the link that is there. Thank you for watching, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next episode. My name has remained the same, Mark the Lion. Thank you and bye.